yourself. Now, with a team, one thing that is really typically very exciting is working with a team on the purpose. And I don't know, but my experience is that very often we talk a lot about the what, but not so much about the why, and people tend to forget that. And what I mean is, if you talk about a doctor is not performing surgeries. A doctor is saving lives, not the what, but the why. And a discussion about that with a team is typically very, very uplifting. And you don't, I mean, there are multiple ways. You can tell them what the purpose is, fine. That is also motivating. But if they find out themselves, if you have a proper discussion about that, why are you here? Why are we here? What is our purpose? You can have a session of half an hour, 45 minutes, and you get to really good results. And people are thankful for that, and they get a lot out of that. I mean, the power of, and I did that with teams, and they realized what really their purpose are. I talked about the business analysts. They realized that they are not filling out spreadsheets or digging up numbers or so. They really were minimizing their own importance in the organization. After we did that session, they really realized that they are part of the customer retention process. So they were retaining customers through the work that they were doing. And there was a major mindset shift. Another experience that I had just lately in the pandemic, you know, I work with executives, and that in particular was or is a chief sales officer in a logistics company. And we were talking what he has done lately, and I was at the early stage of maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks in the lockdown. And what I've never had, he said, "Can I turn off my camera?" And this man, and he is a former football player, so he is 6'6" or so, and he had tears in his eyes, talking about what he did. And there was supplying hospitals with PPE, what was desperately needed. They bought something themselves, the logistics company in Asia. It was not his role in the company. I mean, this is not a example of a role of the team, but he was so touched by the work that he did, the purpose he fulfilled, that it drove him tears in his eyes. Really a rememberable experience. I've never had that an executive said, "May I take off, shut off my camera for a while?" And that is what happens. So looking at the team, connecting the team, and I heard Afaf saying earlier, building trust. It is all about trust, and you cannot force people to trust each other, but you can set up the scene that trust develops. And it has to do with knowing each other and developing good relationships. And you can facilitate that process. So there are 2 tools that are out there. Maybe you tried already one of them. One is take a roundtable and let people talk about a personal history story, and give a story from their life. People start to understand each other. They let their guard down. And second is do a personality assessment, Myers-Briggs, DISC, you name it, and go through that process together, share the results. It's another way of introducing each other. Ultimately, you want the team to give and get help, and you can achieve that also by what we talked earlier about the vulnerability piece. and you can lead into that. I once worked with a team in Brazil, and the CEO said how anxious he was in the last round when he raised funds for the company, and he basically showed his vulnerability, and others started to open up, and I've seen that with other teams. So that is a great way, and you can lead that, and you can almost be certain others will follow you, and not in an organized way, but throughout the discussion, throughout the meeting, throughout the next meeting. And what it ultimately leads to is also that people start to ask for help, and others have the opportunity to give help. And that is what teams are about. You don't want people to work separately from each other. It is teamwork. We need different competencies to achieve what is expected from the team as a whole. The other point I want to make is team meetings. I read once that 9 out of 10 employees or professionals are daydreaming when they go to meetings. That is, of course, not a good result. You want people to be fully there. And I think agenda management is relevant. It is, you need to have something that is relevant for everybody around the table. And typically, these are important challenges, and you want to have conflict in these meetings. I say left, you say right, and somebody else has another idea where we need to go. We need to talk about that, and that sometimes is a little bit uncomfortable. But as a leader, bring these people, bring these topics, and start the discussion. It is sometimes a little tense, yes, and even maybe uncomfortable, but as the overall result, it will help to great results, and you also will be able to solicit input from everybody and get people behind the decision that needs to be made. And of course, there are multiple ways how decisions can be made. We don't have the time to dive into that. I just wanted to give you that idea. Think about the meetings that you have with your team. This can be an energy booster or a killer, depending on how you go. Another tool that I want to quickly bring to your attention is the team charter. I don't know whether you have done that. It's kind of the constitution of a team. And there is no real agenda. Just ask the team, how do you want to work together? What are your standards? And then the discussion starts. And I gave you a few pointers here where this could go. I wouldn't give it the team. I facilitate these sessions. I did that in my time as an executive, but I also do that now with teams, and I show you here a real life example. That was a face-to-face meeting. You can do that, of course, also with a Zoom call. Bring up the whiteboard, let people write on the whiteboard, the Zoom whiteboard, and brainstorm that all together. So I don't give people the pointer, but let them align on what is relevant for them and how they want to work together. I mean, these are sometimes simple things, but starting meeting on time, giving each other honest and sincere feedback. Those kind of things are on a team charter. And once again, you see here one example. And the team develops that together. These are the standards. And the team then also holds each other accountable to that, and gives them also a kind of permission to do certain things. Hey, Peter, I wanted to give you feedback. You know, we talked about that. It is on our team charter. Hey, Sven.